G'day guys, Carl from Go Travel. Today in the shed, got something different. We got a brand new Space Guard Hilux. Poor old big girls out in the rain. Brand spanker. It belongs to a good mate of mine, and whilst he's away, I'm going to be helping him out fitting a few things for him. We've got possibly the most sexiest bull bar made for a new Hilux. Got a PSR Ambush bar. Got a set of SCF Fat Boy sliders. These things are bloody heavy. We've got a new winch to go in and 1-inch body lift. And of course, everything has been designed around the 1-inch body lift. So I can't do anything until I get the body lifted off the chassis. So let's get stuck into it. It should be pretty easy. So the best thing about a drop side tray is it is so easy to get to the tray body mounts. When you look at the cab component of the body lift, it's quite a lot of parts and a little bit technical in it. But it shouldn't be too bad because we're going to pull a heap of stuff off for the bull bar anyway. So once we pull that front bumper and all the front apart, we won't have to put 90% of it back on. What we'll do is we'll crack and loosen off one side, and then we'll completely take one side off, and then we'll just do the tray side by side. Being an alloy tray, it should be nice and light, easy to lift, easy to get the blocks under. Nice 1-inch body block, aluminium. So basically there's two sizes. You've got 8 of these small ones, so 6 of these are for the tray, then 2 are for the very front, and then the cab mount ones are a little bit bigger. But just be mindful that the tray does slide around, so there is potential for it to move and hit the cab, so just be careful when you're doing it. Now, like I say, this tray actually slides around quite a lot. What I reckon the best thing to do will be, grab on under it, and just pull on it. So the holes for the tray mounts are a circle hole. If you just pull it straight back, it should just find its own center. So we got that. Tray is body lifted. Geez, I hope this fits out of my garage. I've missed a few steps here. Pulled the front bumper apart, pulled the grill out. We've exposed all the body mounts. I actually pulled the window washer bottle out too to get to that one, just to make it easy. Now, under the floor in the front, you see there's normally a black grommet there. I've already pulled it out. Body mount there. Open this. Body mount back there. 3 mounts on the cab, ready to lift. Drop them bolts off, and then we'll carefully jack it. In here is where the steering is connected. So we'll drop them bolts, and then we'll carefully see how much that moves. Morning guys, day 2 on the Lux build. I know what you're thinking, what the hell happened to day 1? I didn't actually film much yesterday. So I'll run you through what we did. Basically, lifted the tray as you've seen, lifted the cab late in the afternoon. Didn't end up putting the steering spacer in. In all honesty, it didn't need it. And we got the sliders on. Now I've got to say, I didn't really rate the PSR body lift kit. I'm pretty sure Chad told me he spent 600 bucks on it. Look, yes, there's a lot of cool stuff in it. If you're gonna remount your bumper, 100% good kit. For this, we're not mounting the bumper. So half the crap you don't actually need. And the main thing I did not rate about it is I had to go to the bolt shop anyway. They're the new bolts they give you for the body lift. And as you can see, they are the same length as the factory bolts. The front 2 mounts, the middle 2 mounts were fine, but the back 2 mounts, I actually had to go and buy longer bolts. So the Spline steering spacer, it wanted me to cut 15 mil off the actual Spline factory steering. I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that. So all we did, drop the bolts. As I jacked the cab, we watched it and it moved stuff all. Plenty of spline still in the factory column. It was a couple of mil in it, so it really wasn't worth doing. As for the radiator drop, look, you've got your inch under it. You actually check all the clearances on the fan and everything behind it. And you know what? I ran the Fortuner with just 1-inch body blocks and didn't do any of that crap and never had an issue with it. So I'm pretty confident that the Hilux will be right. My opinion on the 1-inch body lift, if you're gonna do it, you can buy blocks online for like $6 a block for a 1-inch block. And then you can go down to the bolt shop and get all the length and high tensile bolts you need. Off the top of my head, when I did the Fortuner, I think it cost me about 100 bucks. Now the sliders, these I wasn't too sure about. SCF Fat Boy, I've got to say, I actually really like them on the Lux. I think they look really good. Got skid plates in there as well. Now I've got to show you this because these skid plates are like 5mm thick. get me wrong, they're bloody heavy, but the guys at SC Fab have done an unreal job on these. The way they've designed the U-cradles, they've actually got captive nuts in them. So literally, one of them, the middle one's got a bolt, but the brackets, everything just lined up perfectly. Literally just jacked them into place. One thing I will say with the sliders though, because it's all 1-inch body lift prior to doing anything, it was actually really easy. You can get your hand above the chassis, you can slide the bolts above the chassis. The design of them things, the fit of them things, I've never seen sliders that good. Oh, the other thing, how we did it as well. Little strap on a floor jack. Got Decky to help me slowly jack them up into place whilst I was under the car so I could see the alignment of them. Literally, I think it took us a whole of half an hour aside. Bar time. This should be pretty straightforward. It should just be a heap of bolts. PSR actually do give pretty detailed parts listings, pretty good instructions. The way they bag up all the mounts, that's all the mounts and bolts. And then the instructions are actually quite reasonably good. Right, just going through the maze of bolts, and man, there are some bolts. But I don't know if you can see in there, it doesn't quite line up. So, if you don't have one of these riggers shifters, these are what you need. So we should be able to get the bolt in once we pry it around a bit. So that was a hard bolt to get in. When you do all this stuff, you want to do it loosely so you can get all the bolts in, and then once you get all the bolts in, use the bolts to pull it tight. These are some bloody beefy mounts. I think the boys have done a good job engineering these. Just unwrap the bar. This is very pretty, white and black. Nipped up all the bolts, so they're all now tight on the mounts. Just pulled the winch apart. Now this is a TJM Torq winch, so you've actually got to pull the whole bloody gearbox off it to be able to rotate the clutch. But anyway, we'll put that back together and then we'll bolt it into the bar and lift her up. Number plate bracket, winch is mounted, just sits in there, clutch is now at the top. Now, just to wait for a mate, we'll lift her on. Winch is in, clutch works. My only concern is once the grill goes back in, I don't think you'll ever actually be able to get to that clutch again. Control box mounts in, plenty of room between everything, plenty of clearance, which is good. This is the underside of the winch, sorting out the wiring. One thing I'd normally say is put conduit on all these cables, if nothing else, especially the red power cable. But the TJM winch actually has a sheath on top of the insulated cable already, so that's actually kind of nice. These insulated covers that cover all the terminals, they are a pain, but make sure you get them on because it is crucial to make sure all the connections are insulated. All wide, zip tied up, out of the way. Like I say, all this winch wire is double insulated anyway. Modified the isolator bracket just a little bit, just cut the ends off it so I could bolt it down, and then I just bent it flat, so on, off, right beside the battery. I did put conduit on the power wire to the isolator just because I figure it might vibrate and rub. Now with the winch, decided to only cut the one hole in the top so you can get your hand in, hit the clutch, it spools off easy. The control box does sit under this side. I decided not to cut a hole in there because of the wireless remote. With the TJM wireless remote, hold them two buttons in. You'll see this red light will come on in a second. Oh, don't forget to turn the isolator on. Get the grill back in, huh? It's looking good. Now, the cut was actually a little bit harder than what I would have liked. Basically covered the cut and pinch weld, so it tidied it up. Cut a little bit too much off the bottom, so just got a bit of this squishy pinch weld. It's not bad. A few little gaps on it, but if you look closely, you can nitpick it, but from afar, she looks pretty good. I'm tipping Chad won't notice it until he watches this video, which is good. It's too late, it's already cut, it's in the back of the ute. You got the PSR Splash Guards on the corners of the bar. Obviously the PSR bar comes with a front bash plate as well. Probably like 4mm thick as well. Like it's actually quite a decent solid bash plate. This yellow block will be coming off. It'll end up with a flat link on it so it all sits nice and flush with the fair lead, which that'll tidy the front of it up. Cut, the more I look at that now, the tidier it looks, so that's good. Fog lights on the PSR bar are now wired up. I actually really like that yellow. I'd like to see them in fog. I reckon the yellow covers would make them work really well. It is a bloody good looking bar. After the bar and winch and everything went on, so I did sag quite a bit in the front. So yesterday got the Fox struts wound up an inch. So now it's sitting pretty level, which is good. There's Steno on the other day as well. So this is a Meredith Metalworks Steno. Short entry, pinch weld in there. The way it sits with the guards is unreal. Just complements the lines of the Lux. A little bit of a gap at the roof, but it's not, it doesn't look too out of place, so I think that's good. Try and get some of these snorkel induction noises. There's something about Steno induction noise that just makes you smile. The other thing I will capture as well is windows up, you don't actually hear it. Gotta admit, it does sound good underway. We'll just talk about the suspension, even though I had nothing to do with the suspension. So it's got Fox kit from Mike's Shock Shop, 2 and 3 kit. Leaves have been done as well. I don't know the weight rating on them leaves. I think they are a 300 kilo leaf. So Blackhawk upper arms, Fox struts set at 3 inch in the front. Keep in mind we do have that 1 inch body lift in here as well. Needs a set of bash plates for the diff drop, but it does have diff drop under it. Mounted up on the headboard of the tray, it's got a Stedi 3303 Pro double row light bar. Just mounted with the Stedi brackets as well. That actually come up really good. Again, I didn't do that part of the build, that was already done. But overall, it's a really nice looking rig. Got the Method race wheels on her, so they're the 305 NV in bronze. They do have the big caps on them. I'm not a big fan of them caps, but it doesn't look too far out of place on this. Obviously bronze and black wheel, got the imitation bead lock on it. Maxxis Razr ATs as well. So these tyres are probably a little bit too small for how this car sits now. So these are a 265 70/17, so just a little bit smaller than 32. But yeah, she's definitely a good looking rig. Love that PSR bar, love the big open guards. I always feel like these little wheels actually make it look taller than what it is too, so I sort of like that. So overall, I think it's a really tidy Lux. I think he's done a really good job on the gear he's picked. I think Chad will be happy with it, the way it's come up, the way it looks. The things I didn't like about it, the PSR body lift kit, look, I don't recommend that. I think if you're going to do 1 inch body, just buy blocks and go to a bolt shop and buy the bolts. It'll cost you a fraction of the price. The PSR bar, it was pretty good. It went on really well. The SCF Fab sliders, these things are unreal. Like that skid plate, that is the thickest skid plate I've seen on a slider ever. The way they just bolted up and fit was unreal. I've never had a slider go on that easy. And before I get asked, I'm not building four-wheel drives for people. This is just helping a mate out. So I think he'll be stoked with it when he sees it. Like always, I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions on the Lux build. Anything, comment it below. If you like what you see, feel free to subscribe. And until next time, guys, go travel.